Hey everyone, Brian Fouts here with the Elevation Group. And in this week's lesson, we're going to be talking about emergency reserves and are you prepared? Now, let me ask you a question about being prepared. And what I mean that is that if you had a sudden loss of income, how long would it be till you ran out of money? How long would it be until you couldn't make your mortgage payment, till you couldn't provide for your family? So that's why this is so important. Now, what we're going to be talking about today is what is emergency reserves, who it applies to, why it's so important, and actually how you can start today getting this. Now, we do have a bonus at the end of this video that you can download that will help get you started right away on emergency reserves, so stay tuned for that. Now, what is emergency reserves? It's essentially funds or cash that you have set aside for a catastrophic event or loss of income. Now, that means something different for everybody, but let's say you lose your job or the market crashes and your business no longer has any income. You need to have emergency funds to carry you through for at least 3 months at a minimum. 6 months is good, but 12 months is best. So that's what emergency reserves are for. Now, who does this apply to? It doesn't apply to everybody. It applies to a certain group, and I'm going to show you right here. So this is the U.S. population, and this is their income level. Now, there's about 322 billion people in the U.S., give or take a few billion. And their income looks like this. For most of them, it's very low. It's very stagnant. But then it jumps up right here. So out of that population, who does this apply to? Who needs to worry about emergency reserves? Well, it's not this group right here. This is about 90% of the population, and it's the low-income people. Now, the reason why it doesn't apply as much is because they're subsidized. They have government subsidies versus the 1% over here. They actually have diversified income. They have other sources of income, so they're not worried about emergency reserves. Who this applies to and who I'm talking to today is this group right here. It's about 10% of the population. It's middle class and upper middle class families. This is who needs to be concerned about this. Now think back to 2008 when the market crashed. This group right here got crushed. Lost their jobs, lost their income, lost their homes, lost their cars. That was 9 years ago, and most of them have obviously recovered and are back to pre-2008 levels. But they're not prepared for when it happens again, and let me tell you why this is so important. Down here we have the S&P 500. And let's look at 1994, 2000, 2008, and today. This is what the graph looks like as to what the S&P has done. Went up, crashed. Came back up, crashed. And came back up to where we're at today. Now if you look at this, there was a low here, a low here, a low here, and what's over here? Are you prepared for this to happen again? Are you prepared? Do you have reserves in place? And unfortunately, most people will say no. They have less than 2 months of reserves in place. That's why this is so important, to prevent getting crushed when the market goes and takes a dip again and you lose your income or job or your business no longer has that revenue. So that's why this is so important. So how can you get started today? So first off, what you have to do is you want to calculate how much reserves you need. So we're going to go through that really quick. Now, if you're a member of the Elevation Group, you have access to our emergency savings calculator. So if you're a member, go ahead and log in and use the calculator to find out how much reserves you need and how long it'll take to get it. It's a very cool calculator. It takes into a lot of factors into consideration and tells you how long it'll take and a bunch of other facts. So we're going to go through some of those today. But the main one we want to talk about is your monthly expenses. Now, this is not things you want to spend money on. It's things you need to spend money on. And things like that are your mortgage, your rent, car payment, insurance premiums. So these are your needs. Now, how many months you need is dependent on you, but I say 6 months. So let's say you have $10,000 of monthly expenses. You need $60,000. Now, most people stop right there. And this sort of frustrates me a little bit because most people don't know the other things to consider because they're not being taught. No one's teaching this. They're not taught in school how to do emergency reserves. So other things that you want to consider that we have in our calculator are your premiums, your deductibles for your insurance. So You have homeowners insurance, you have car insurance, you have medical insurance. They have deductibles. So during that 6-month period, you're going to have to pay some of those possibly. So those are deductibles. You want to calculate those in as well. So let's say $5,000. All right, and then you're going to want to set aside some funds for an emergency. So let's say you have a legal expense. You're going to want to set some money aside for that. So let's say it's an emergency fund of $5,000. So in reality, what you need is 60 plus this 10. You need $70,000 in your emergency reserve fund. Now, when most people calculate this out, they say, I can't save that. I can't put that much money aside. I can't. And I get frustrated because, and here's why. Most people spend their money on two things. Those two things are needs, which are things you have to spend money on. That's your insurance, your home, food, versus wants. This is your Starbucks. This is your flat screen TV. It's that flashy new rims on your car. It's eating out and dining out. Most people will spend their money here. Whatever's left, they'll spend right here. And what you're going to do is start cutting out some of these wants and putting that money into here. Make your emergency reserves a need. It's something you need to spend money on because this is your financial security for your family. You have to make this a need. Now, the way to start doing this today is identify some wants that you are wasting money on or things that you don't need. Perhaps it's that gym membership that you monthly $100 on that you never go to, never use. What you're going to do is take your bank account and you're going to set up a separate one. I'd recommend a credit union. And you're going to make an automatic transfer every month or week or whatever it is from this account to that account. So cut out some wants and put this money into a separate account that you don't have a credit card for, you don't have a debit card for. Start saving this today. It's not hard to do. You can start doing it today. All right. Now I have this right here. I'll put it up right now. Go ahead and go to er.joinevg.com. And you can download a PDF that will get you started today on some ideas on how to start saving emergency reserves and where to save them. But if you have an elevation banking strategy, if you're a member of EVG, you can actually put your money for your emergency reserves into that strategy as well, because that way it earns a rate of return which can actually accelerate the time frame. So that's emergency reserves. Start doing this today. If you have any questions, go ahead and post them below. I'll put this link down there as well afterwards. And we'll go ahead and see you on the next video. Appreciate you guys' time. Thanks.